Hello and welcome everybody to the weekly Hell Let Loose developer Q&A briefing, whatever. I just thought this would be a fun little thing to start doing now that Hell Let Loose seems to be going down a pretty good track. They have a lot of fun mechanics in the game. They've added a lot. Still a lot wrong with it. Hoping we get to see some of those addressed and a plan to fix them coming out soon with this developer briefing. Now, I personally haven't been experiencing too much of the VoIP issue, but I know that is a big problem in the community right now. I keep seeing a lot of posts about it everywhere. Reddit, Steam forums, that kind of stuff. So let's start, let's get into it. Let's start reading. Let's see what's up. The Vivox VoIP update from the great Spoondini. Who the fuck is that? I just wanted to give you an update with the current in-game VoIP situation and thank you all for being so patient as we work to fix this. Vivox has been working hard and has made several configuration changes to resolve the loss of comms some of you are experiencing. Vivox will continue to make a few tweaks over the next 24 to 48 hours as we lead into the weekend, but are already noticing an improvement and seeing no mass drop events since these changes were made. Well, that's good to hear. Vivox have multiple people monitoring this and will continue to do so throughout the weekend. It will be great to let us know if in the weekend you're still experiencing loss of VoIP or your VoIP experiences is now better. I want to personally thank the entire community for your patience as we have worked tirelessly with Vivox to resolve this as quickly as possible. I don't think the community was very patient. They were very loud and vocal and upset. They wanted it now. They wanted it fixed now. So, I don't know why they're... I mean, you know, they're just being nice. They gotta be nice. I don't think they want to backhand their community. Now on to the questions and answers. This should be fun. Right now, I'm going to read through all of this and probably just try to cut it up as best as I can. But since this is the first one, I'd like some comments and answers, comments, questions, answers, just some feedback. There you go, that's the word I was looking for. Just some feedback on how you guys respond to this kind of style of shit, you know? Will Hell Let Loose be supported after you leave early access? Of course. Yes, leaving early access simply represents a consistent level of quality and optimization across the game that we'd be happy to call a starting place for all the work to come. It is not a sign that we've finished the game and are going to move on. Once we leave early access, the team is poised to expand and continue as we always have. With the same or slightly larger flow of work we've always had, too fast and it becomes hard to quality control, and too slow, the game will feel stagnant. I feel like the game is already feeling kind of stagnant. We have to implement campaign mode. I really wish they wouldn't implement a campaign mode. I feel like that's not very... I don't know. That's not my cup of tea. More forces, expand the ones we have, expand weapon and equipment offerings, and new mechanics. Add new mechanics, flamethrowers and mortars, to name a few. I feel like flamethrowers should be on the back burner. That's not really something that needs to be added too soon. And completely new types of maps. Refine the metagame, continue to balance, support the competitive side, continue to optimize, add more vehicles, and much more. Many of the most popular games on Steam are titles that have been out for more than 5 years. Yeah, it could say that. And this, I mean, there's the biggest thing about Hell Let Loose, I feel like, is the potential. There's so much potential, and you just feel it every time you play. It's like, and you see it too. Like, just like the crazy tank battles, the pushes, when people actually coordinate, and there's like a whole team surrounding an objective, and like they push in together with tanks and artillery fire. It's astounding. That's all it is right now. It's just a big ball of potential, and you just want to see where that goes. And people are really excited, and they really want to push it, to see how far they can take it, because it can go so far. But I'm getting off track. What do you think about adding more complexity variety to the AT weapons in the game, i.e. magnetic mines, /charges, single-use rockets, AT grenades? This is ultimately where we want to go with the anti-tank capability. We feel it'll be much more interesting to have a varied series of mechanics that can be used to take down different vehicles than just firing a ton of rockets at them. I would like that. I'm sure every tanker would like that. Ultimately, the armor array is still quite undercooked. The current medium tanks in the roster will be replaced by the most populous medium tanks of the day, namely the PZ-4 for the Germans and the T-34 for the Russians, the stock M4A3 Sherman for the US. Why didn't they just start with that? As a result, we will be rebalancing the AT role to encourage different styles of play. Are defined front lines the desire of the team, or are you looking to adjust the linear nature of sectors within maps and garrison placement? Whilst the changes in U7 were to address ninja garrisons with fixed lines, I now see garrisons and outposts seemingly dropped in near identical locations every time. That's just, isn't that like the fault of the... That's the fault of the squads, though. Squad leaders. Unfortunately, the sector system was a legacy implementation that has been hard to move away from, as it governs so much of the metagame. Ultimately, the key design goal is to create an organic front line that ideally can wrap around into the first active red row, without reintroducing the spawn bombing of the ninja garrison mechanics, where players drop the attack garrison within the enemy sector points, and spawn the entire team there. Can we expect more loadouts for the spotters? More loadouts for the spotters. Please add satchel charges for them and snipers. G43 and bolt action without optics. Yes, there's really no limit to the loadout we are keen to create and implement. They're hugely flexible for us to alter, balance, and expand. And it's the key way we're able to introduce new gadgets. Expect everything you've suggested and much, much more as forces enter the game. That's nice. Of course, they're going to be expanding the roles, the gadgets, the weapons every role gets. I figured that's, it's going to happen. It just takes time. Do you have any ideas about new abilities for commanders, like the airstrike with the Stuka, rocket strafing run with the P-47? I would much rather instead of the Germans also having a bombing run, they should have I guess both teams can have a bombing run, but instead of the strafing run should get buffed, because it kind of sucks. And it should just be the Americans that have it. Germans, they should have the Stuka that can penetrate buildings, right? Like they can very pinpoint, you have to be very pinpoint accurate with it, but it should help with assaulting hard points and capture points. Because the Germans right now, it's kind of hard with the majority of people having bolt action rifles to storm inside compounds and that kind of thing. Definitely, the commander array was designed to allow us to continually expand their abilities, something that's very easy for us to do. Expect to see Stukas, rocket strafes, Nebelwerfers, and more. We'll be adding these to each force in the future. I wish they would give some kind of time frame for when these will be added. Would it be possible to implement a way to increase/decrease the command channel versus squad channel voice volume? Also, a way to equalize voices. People who increase their in-game mic volume end up sounding boomy, whereas others are almost impossible to hear. This is something we're discussing with Vivox at the moment, as we are limited on the outputs we love to see. Okay, yeah. They'll be answering it. Yeah. I guess it's not really in their hands either way. They have to work with Vivox. So they're trying their best, I'm sure. Are more options planned for placed weapons like the current Pak-40? I was imagining one of those 20mm flat guns, HE mortar. Yep, side note, you guys are awesome. Y'all rock, seriously. Nice. Compliments to the chef. Cooked up a great game. Thanks so much for the support. Our plan is to introduce a flak position as a deployable that can be upgraded to various levels with different functions. We're also looking at allowing you to upgrade the AT guns similarly. We're also going to be introducing mortars and deployables too. Most likely HMGs. Still a lot more to come. So just expanding on the deployables, the weapons, just, typical, obvious stuff. UE5 may be in your hands early this year. Remember the amazing demo. So what do you think UE5 can bring to the game? Destruction, maybe? More dust? Destruction? More dust. Destruction and more dust. I love dust. Keep up the good work and be proud of what you're doing. Cheers from Jimmy. UE5 is still quite a Pandora's box of potential complexity and features, but once we are really excited to open up, we're going to be seeking... That should be a while though, right? I mean, then they just upgrade the engine to UE4? They should wait a bit. They need to focus more on what's in the game and what to add to the game, not change the whole not change the whole fucking system up. That'd be kind of crazy. Will we also see incendiary grenades or Molotov cocktails? Yes. We are working to... Yeah, we're working to add all that stuff. Yep. Just more equipment. Of course. It seems that developing a historically accurate flamethrower would be extremely difficult to implement. How is the team doing with this upcoming weapon? Is there anything... I really don't care about the flamethrower. Like, flamethrower tanks, those are really popular. I can see those being added just to, like, add more of an anti-infantry element now that, you know, the fucking machine guns got nerfed with the bullet drop and the reduced ammo and all that. Funnily enough, a lot of the flamethrower code already exists in the game. We just need to generate some of the FX and the work around setting up the weapon from an animation perspective. We're going to be using a fuel/gel mix model, allowing you to consistently throw straight lines of fire for over 20 to 30 meters. The idea is that it'll be a way of clearing buildings at range with a high risk and reward factor. I still don't know exactly. I should probably test this in an empty server. But they added bullet penetration, right? Shouldn't the bullets, like, the heavy bullets from the Browning or the MG34 or a tank, they should be able to penetrate buildings, right? That's how you should be able to clear out a building or suppress people inside a building. Get your fucking machine gunner up and just spray into it, right? Spray around the windows, spray, like, just everywhere. You have this huge mag, this huge belt-fed magazine box. You should be able to just pin everybody down in that building. Just spray around. You shouldn't have to add a flamethrower. That's just my 2 cents. I don't know. Are there any plans to add more vehicles? Things like tank destroyers, armored cars, etc.? Yeah. Will there be further tweaks to the gore system, e.g. bullet damage? Yeah, of course. They're going to be, all this stuff, of course. With the inclusion of the Eastern Front and what I'm assuming more subclasses, will you try to balance the amount of classes to each faction, i.e. Germany will have 2 machine gunner classes while Russia and America only have 1? Due to the way our backend works, we're keen to keep the number of roles in the game at 14, as expanding this will cause huge, continuously multiplying complexity. As a result of this, we really see the loadouts available to each role as a way of expanding functionality across a team and weighing it in a particular way. So yeah, every team will have the same number of the same kind. Yeah, it'll all just be the same. Class-wise, it'll all be the same. You know, each class will have different guns varying depending on their, you know, faction, how well the guns work. Are you guys looking into adding maybe a 1 to 2 minute preparation phase before a match starts to give people a little time to plan the attack and figure out what roles are needed in the squad? This is something that should have been added a long time ago, I feel like. They should have added it last update, UE8, like with the addition of being able to select what role your squad will play. They should have added that. That would have been perfect. That'd have been, you know, the 1-2 punch. Yeah, they're going to be adding it in update 9. That'll be nice. Back during the process of Hell Let Loose. Oh, during the backing process of Hell Let Loose, adding the Pacific campaign was a potential goal that was not met. With the success of the game so far, do you think the Pacific may be added into the game sometime in the future? Thanks for everything. Of course, yes, they'll be introducing it eventually. Most of these just have the answer of yes, eventually. Just give it time. It's still in early access. A lot of this shit would be like DLC for most games, you know what I mean? And I mean, they're just going to be releasing it for free. That's crazy, right? Like, once this game comes out, they're just going to keep updating it. It'll be amazing. How do you figure out the balance between realism and a more gamey elements of the gameplay? Should I be highlighting these? Would that be too much? Let me know in the comments below. Yeah, give me a comment. Should I be highlighting these whenever I'm reading them? It's always a very tough balance. It usually requires us boiling down the expectation of a feature or weapon and then considering how that could be best represented on the battlefield in a way that complements or modifies other existing mechanics. A good example is the artillery. We felt it was important to capture the total power and devastation of it on the battlefield, and to do so we need to introduce some limiting principles, namely the need for teamwork in both placing marks, working with a loader. You don't need to work with a loader though, and minimal game feedback that you're being successful. Artillery is a whole nother topic. I'm going to talk about that in a different video. Namely, the need for teamwork in both placing markers, working with a loader, blah, 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 will always begin with what the absolute most realistic implementation would look like, and then work it back to suit the gameplay Fundamentally, it has to feel fun and to perform as close to expectations as possible, paired with an appropriate learning curve and devastating side effects. If artillery was incredibly easy to fire, which it is, there's literally an app for it, then we'd have to lower its lethality, which they should, causing grenade-style explosions. If we make it too powerful, then we need to complicate it to the point where it was very inaccessible to use, lowering its presence on the battlefield. That is always the balance we consider. Who will want to use this? I feel like they gave a bad example. Are there any particular development processes you use as a small development team to release such high-fidelity game? It amazes me that such a small team can produce such a high-fidelity game, arguably better than many AAA studios have released over the last few years. And as a game developer myself, I'd like to know how the small studios get ahead. Okay, that's just like, how do you do it? You guys are so good. What feature are you most excited about from the future roadmap? I think campaign mode will tie each battle together. Campaign mode. Oh, okay. I was thinking something different about campaign mode. So it's going to be like setting up the maps in such a way that they connect realistically to how the army's advanced. Okay. I don't know why I was thinking campaign mode was like some single player bullshit. I think campaign mode will tie each battle together in a really meaningful way that will give greater context and reward to the efforts each player in the battlefield. That'd be pretty crazy. That'd be really long too. I'm also very excited about the Eastern Front and the sheer breadth of the content that will start to roll through the game. That you could be leading a tank column across Normandy in one battle and hacking someone to death with a shovel in the living room of a tiny Russian house in the next. It'd be neat if they added some kind of reward to actually sticking through the whole campaign, like maybe you get an increase of XP for every continuous battle you go through the campaign with. That'd be nice. It would be something. Do you collect stats of every player's efficiency, such as kills / times killed throughout his career? Would it be interesting to have a look at not just for one round, but total? What is the plan for a campaign? Oh, yeah. Hang on a minute. I almost skipped over that. We do collect stats, and we're going to build out a stat page in a future update. We're keen for players to be able to see, like, I'm okay with having a stat page, like, on the menu, but you shouldn't be able to see it, like, in-game. That shouldn't be the focus. We're designing... Okay. What is the plan for a campaign mode, and what is its status? We're designing campaign mode to become the default system of map rotation from server to server. Within it, we'll pit allies against Axis across a world map, allowing you to experience the full scale of the conflict as you press for global victory. Essentially, a campaign will begin on a server, and the first 5 minutes will be both teams observing a world map of different territories. We're thinking through the exact mechanics at the moment, but want to introduce an element of risk and reward to decision making in this screen. Will you choose to open your campaign by attacking in the beaches territory, choosing between Utah or Omaha? That'd be really cool. Will you decide to begin in the Far East as the Russian forces? We need to design to be flexible enough to allow us to continually add maps, as well as introduce variety in different stakes to each battle. We want resources to be fixed so that failing to maintain a good balance in one battle will affect the next one. In addition, the choice you make over whether you choose to attack in offensive mode, defend on offensive mode, or fight a warfare battle will similarly change the reward for victory or defeat. We have a huge number of variables that we're excited to introduce. We're currently just working over the design to make sure that it's both compelling, competitive, and balanced. Okay, so basically campaign mode, just a big type of overarching battle implementing all the features that are currently in the game and that will be added to the game. Just this huge, it'll probably be the like poster child, the game mode. The prime game mode that everyone will want to play. Maybe, I don't know, I really like Warfare. Offensive kind of sucks. During early access, it's hard to decide if you want to implement new features to bring new players or fix bugs to keep existing players interested. How do you plan on balancing those two objectives? It's definitely always a difficult balance. New exciting content brings in new players and allow us to keep the lights on at the studio. All right, that makes sense. But at the same time, we always need to make sure that we're dealing with the bugs and less fun aspects of the game that are causing issues for the community. We're reaching a point now, though, that there aren't many surprises within the course of development. We're finalizing some aspects of optimization and technical processes that will make development much smoother when it comes to fixing bugs and performance. Eventually, we hope that we'll reach a point where all the fundamentals work seamlessly. It makes more sense, yeah, why they would want to focus on adding stuff to just like pique the interest, like, oh wow, cool, bringing people back. But then that's also how they lose people, is that like they bring people back into the game with new stuff, but then bugs are still there from when they left, and they're like, oh cool, that's still a thing. Update 8 has been great, especially the updates to the support and engineer. What unit type do you think needs more love? Needs more love the most next, and what additional infantry loadouts and customizations do you have planned for the future? Really glad you're enjoying the additions. Ultimately, we'll be rotating through the most undercooked loadouts to add more and more to them before circling back to the start. Initially, we were so busy with overhauling key parts of the game that many of the loadouts became just different mixes of existing guns. We're going to be increasingly moving away from introducing loadouts with existing elements and use them how they were designed, as a way of introducing entirely new functionality. They hope to make each class unique in how you approach the battlefield and work with the squad. That's always good. Do you ever expect the game to have tanking only maps? No. Basically, they understand that some maps are better for infantry, some maps are better for tanks. They're going to be adding the Russians. They're definitely going to be adding like tank heavy maps, but there's still going to be prime opportunities for infantry to get their spotlight, of course. Night combat. Do you have any plans to do any current maps but with night variants? That would be really cool. If so, would flares also be looked as both illumination and anti-tanks like infantry variants? Yes, we'll be bringing in a night mode in the future. That's awesome to hear. We feel it'll need flare guns to brighten up longer ranges and give unique purpose to the night environment. We don't want to introduce a nighttime mode that just encourages players to increase their gamma. Yeah, that would suck. Are there any plans to introduce rifle grenades? Yep. Yes, we're going to be adding that. Yes. Getting up close and personal. All right, here's the end of it. Dedicated melee weapons are on the way. That's nice to hear. Yep, here's a shovel. That might be, I'm guessing, for the Russians, since they're on Russian land. Probably for the Russians. Yep, that wraps up this week's dev brief. Nice. Good to see a lot of obvious questions and answers, but there's a lot of neat stuff. I'm interested in the night maps, the introducing new content and fixing old content. That's definitely a fine balance of getting new players wrapped in, but keeping players there so they don't have to deal with the bugs. Campaign mode was a nice insight. All in all, I think it was just a good average developer briefing. They probably don't have much to show off right now, so they're just kind of doing this community stuff. Solid. It's solid. Yeah, that wraps it up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you leave your comments down below. I won't ask you to like the video, alright? Don't like the video. This video sucks. Don't do it. But do leave a comment. I would like to see what everybody's thinking about with all of these new things coming out. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.